Good morning and welcome to IG's early morning call. I'm Angela Barnes. Coming up on today's programme, the dollar weakness. Well, the greenback continues to fall on Fed rate expectations while equity markets and gold rise. Also coming up on today's show, hawkish RBA minutes. Board members decide a hike was necessary given increased inflation risks. And US tech earnings, Zoom shares rise on a higher full-year forecast. The market now awaits financial updates from Nvidia and HP. Well, let's get started and have a look at volatility to start. Let's look at the VIX, because at the moment, well, it has continued to decline, as you can see, since the end of October, but it's currently up 0.13% on the day at around 1510. And with 30 minutes to go, roughly, until the European markets open, let's have a look at how things are looking pre-market across Europe. Well, the FTSE 100 is set for a lower open, currently down 0.07%. France's CAC 40 up 0.01%, so pretty flat on open as well at the moment as it stands, and Germany up 0.07%. So a mixed open for European markets, mainly flat on Monday. This comes after UK stocks remained in the red in the afternoon, and equities across Europe as well were mixed following remarks by Prime Minister Rishi Sunak in the UK that now is the time to cut tax. Speaking ahead of the autumn statement, Sunak said taxes would be reduced in a responsible way due to the fact his target of high inflation had been met. However, he declined to say specifically which taxes would be cut. Well, what about Asia? Let's have a look at how things have been overnight in Asia Pacific. Well, the Nikkei was down 0.10%. Hong Kong's Hang Seng ended up 0.18%, and Australia's S&P ASX 200 also higher, up 0.28%. Well, Asia Pacific markets largely rose, led by gains in tech and Chinese property stocks as well. And let's have a look at how things closed on Wall Street. Okay, so US stocks, here we go. Dow Jones Industrial Average up 0.53%, the S&P 500 up 0.71%, and the tech-heavy Nasdaq also closed higher, up 0.99%. Well, the New York Stock Exchange and Nasdaq up mainly driven up mainly by the dollar weakness, and we'll come back to that in a minute. Microsoft and Nvidia also made strong gains as well yesterday, with the tech and communication services sectors the biggest gainers on the S&P 500, up 1.5% and 1% respectively. Well, let's have a look at the charts as well, the main US indexes, to see how they're set to open at the moment, or how they are at the moment. So we've got the US 500 0.02% higher marginally. Also the Nasdaq 0.09% slightly higher, and Dow Jones also pretty flat there, 0.01% higher. And of course, the traders today will be now keeping an eye out for the minutes from the Federal Reserve's October 31st, November 1st policy meeting. Well, moving on in economic data, as mentioned there, the RBA minute. So let's have a look at that. Well, the Australian dollar, I'm just going to pull up the Australian dollar price chart because it's on the rise again this morning, lifted by the hawkish comments of its new governor. Well, in the minutes that followed the decision to raise rates by 25 basis points to 4.35% a fortnight ago, Michelle Bullock said that even though there was a credible case to keep rates steady, board members saw the risk that inflation expectations could rise if rates were not raised. The board also noted that the RBA cash rate remains below main rates of many other countries. Well, markets are pricing only a 5% chance it will hike again in December, but imply around a 40% risk it might move once more in the new year. The market sees there could be more to come from the RBA. They couldn't think more differently when it comes to the Fed, as most expect interest rates to fall next year and see that as a signal to sell the dollar in anticipation. Well, the US dollar basket is down below 103 for the first time since September the 1st as well. It's currently, as you can see, at 102. 2.89. And then as well, the euro US dollar, well, that's at the highest it's been since August the 11th. And then if we just move over to commodities and look at the price of gold, well, gold mechanically reacts to the fall of the greenback and has been closing in on the 2,000 mark this morning, currently at 1991. Okay, and elsewhere in economic news, well, it is quieter on the economic front, but investors will be keeping across an update from Canada on inflation with the latest October CPI release. Well, at 1:30 p.m., the markets are expecting Canada to report price growth of 3.2% year over year, down from 3.8% the previous month. Meanwhile, core CPI is expected to be 2.6% year over year from 2.8% in September. And then a few macroeconomic indicators as well are expected from the US, starting at 1:30 p.m. with the Chicago Fed National Activity Index, and followed by existing home sales for the month of October. Economists forecast a 1.3% fall compared to September. But currency traders are really waiting for FOMC minutes, exceptionally released a day earlier because of Thanksgiving. These minutes are seen by some as a potential pivot for Fed policy. After last week's CPI, many have revised their expectations up to the point that about 30% of them believe the Fed could begin lowering rates as early as next March. Well, moving on to corporate news as well now, and let's have a look at Zoom, because Zoom Video Communication shares rose in extended trading after the company raised its annual revenue and profit forecast, boosted by demand for its new AI products introduced during the third quarter. Zoom's AI companion allows paid users to access features including meeting summaries and catch-ups, as well as email and chat composed prompts. It earned $1.29 per share on an adjusted basis, surpassing expectations of $1.09. Revenue also beat expectations, reaching $1.14 billion, up 3.2%. Well, Zoom now expects annual adjusted profit per share between $4.93 and $4.95, higher than its prior forecast of $4.63 and $4.67. It also raised its revenue forecast. Well, if we look at the Zoom price chart, it's an all-session stock on the IG platform. It's currently up 3.48% on the day, ahead of the Wall Street Open. Okay, well, let's have a look at Nvidia as well, because the tech giant is reporting later today, which will be the highlight of a holiday-shortened week in the US. The artificial intelligence chip leader is expected to deliver another blockbuster revenue forecast. However, the focus will be on whether widening US curbs on sales of its high-end chips to China could hamper that run. Well, the street sees earnings of $336 per share and revenue of $16.18 billion. These results will also be a major test for the AI-powered rally that has helped drive up the US stock market this year, with the Philadelphia Semiconductor Index up nearly 50% in 2023. Well, the Biden administration last month banned China sales of the H800 and A800 chips that Nvidia had created after previous curbs on exports to the country. Well, China is the country's third largest market and accounts for more than 1/5 of its revenue. Nvidia has said it does not expect any impact from the curbs in the near term, but its stock hit a near 5-month low in October after a report by the Wall Street Journal said that up to $5 billion in Chinese orders were in jeopardy. Well, if we look at the Nvidia chart here, as you can see on the screen, well, after a rally earlier this year that made it the first trillion-dollar chip firm, Nvidia stock declined more than 12% between August and October, signaling that investors were getting harder to impress as the concerns in China mounted. But the all-session stock on the IG platform, as noticed, currently trading up 2.56% on the day, ahead of the latest earnings update. Meanwhile, HP also scheduled to report its Q4 earnings after the US closing bell tonight. Analysts on Wall Street are projecting that HP will announce quarterly earnings of 0.90 cents per share in its forthcoming report, representing an increase of 5.9% year over year. Estimates for revenue stand at $13.82 billion, suggesting a decline of roughly $1 billion on the prior year quarter. Well, most of that revenue decline will be down to the group's personal systems division, the part of the business that builds desktops and notebooks. This division is forecast to lose 9.8% in revenue compared to last year. That said, HP tried to reassure the market, saying it expected PC demand to stabilize by the end of the year, announcing a 5% increase in dividend. Now, the all-session stock is currently trading 1.1% lower. Year to date, it has gained, though, about 5%. Okay, also Best Buy, the US consumer electronics retailer, is also posting its third quarter results today. Wall Street's expecting earnings per share at $1.18 on revenue of $9.9 billion. In August, Best Buy surpassed Wall Street's quarterly sales expectations, but tempered its outlook for the rest of the year as it feels the lull of post-pandemic spending on kitchen appliances, computer monitors, and other electronics as well. And then if we look at the all-session stock on the IG platform, currently trading higher, up 0.73% on the day. Year to date, the stock is down, however, about 16%. Well, that's all we've got time for this morning on Early Morning Call. Thank you very much for watching, and do tune in to Beat the Street this afternoon ahead of the Wall Street Open at 1:30 p.m. and keep across all our IG platforms for updates and insights. Thanks very much.